Living green or sustainably is about more than saving on your electric bill and doing your part to protect natural resources. It is about a safer and healthier life for you and your family without sacrificing style, quality, or budget. This is a movement to provide all of us with clean air to breathe and water to drink, safe, healthy food to eat and places to live, and energy to run the places where we live, learn, play, and work. The Everyday Green Home Podcast helps you get the value of green for you, your family, and your community. Whether it's green homes, green living, or the people who make it happen, join me, Marla Esser-Close, to learn how green and sustainability practices and products work for you and our world.
A whole lot of people have been buying houses a lot over the past year-ish and selling too. And, all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but we're all a lot more concerned about the health and wellness around us and in our lives and in our homes. And now we get to take that into account when we're looking for a new home or fixing up the one we live in. Hey, y'all, this is Marla, the Green Home Coach, and I'm really excited to be here today with another Teach Talk. And actually, I'm kind of going to do a part 2 to an episode we did a couple weeks ago. And we was me and Therese, also known as T, Forton-Barnes, the Green Living Gurus of Green Living Gurus. And she and I came together for this episode a few weeks ago about how to clean up the gunk in your house, how to make it more non-toxic and safer and healthier for everybody living in that home. And we really had this great conversation about all the different ways that you could look at making your home better. But what we didn't get a lot of time to talk about, and I really wanted to come back around to this, is how do you look for a home that has the bones, the good basis, the foundation to, pun intended, the foundation to give you the kinds of things that you want in your home. And so this really got me thinking. I had put together a little mini workshop to do several months ago for a new home buyers class that was actually being put on by a mortgage company here in Oklahoma City. And I had an opportunity to participate in that along with some realtors and mortgage people. And it was really great because we had this class of people there that were looking at buying their very first home. And we had this opportunity to answer all kinds of questions for them. So I got to do a piece called Health, Happiness, and Home, how to pick a home that truly works for you. And I had based this off of my work as Green Home Coach, off of our personal experience looking for our home, and some of the things that we learned when we moved into this home. So it's really kind of all come together. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today, because there's some ways that you can look for specific things that are going to give you a better starting point to have that health and wellness and comfort in that home that you really want. The other thing is if the homes you're looking at don't have it, how do you recognize what those gaps are so that you can build it in as you go and improve it? So for instance, maybe you're in a home that has a super old furnace, an air conditioning system, and now you have a perfect opportunity to upgrade to something really energy efficient that's going to have healthy ventilation in it, maybe even an air purification system in it. And there's a lot of assistance available financially for energy efficient upgrades. There's even energy efficient loans out there. FHA and Fannie Mae both have some, as well as a lot of private loans through the lenders. So thinking about these kinds of things up front can be really, really smart. A lot of times you don't know what you're looking for. And that's really where I want to start through with you today, is just how to put together a plan. And I'm going to use this handout that we created for the workshop, which you can download in the show notes. It's one of the links there for you. And this will give you a good place to start. And then I also want to share a little bit about our experience when we bought this home about 5 years ago and some things that we've learned. And some of them I learned the hard way, but hey, you got to go with it, right? And then we can wrap up with a couple of thoughts that I have about things when you are looking for your home. So come along for the ride. And those of you that have been following my videos and podcasts for a while, this one will also be a video released early in my private Facebook group, Love Your Everyday Green Home. So if you haven't joined it yet, please do go check it out. And you'll notice I'm in kind of new digs. I've rearranged my office and I haven't moved my microphone yet. So I'm on my headset today. We're still trying to get everything finished up, but I miss my background with my lovely greenish aqua wall, but we got far better lighting over here, so that's a plus. So, hey, mix it up a little, right? So, anywho, I want to start with reading you something that I wrote for this little class, because this is how I want you to think about it when we're starting this off. Owning a home is a joy and a responsibility. Home has become hometown, where much of our lives happen. Knowing how to choose a home that contributes to your health and comfort makes for happy homeowners. And thank you to Suzanne Shelton for that term, hometown. It means pretty much what has happened in our homes over the past few years, where they've really become where everything happens. So even as we're starting to open up, I think we're looking at our homes differently. So, when you're looking for a home, sometimes peering past the obvious is how you can contribute to getting that better, healthier, more comfortable outcome that you're really, really looking for. It really doesn't matter if you're looking at a new build, an existing home, whether it's in the city, the country, the suburbs. The basics are really pretty much the same in what you look for. And when you know these things up front and you know what to look for, it really does help you to pick a home that's going to work for you and the people that are going to be living in that home with you. And that's what helps to make a difference. So, ground zero, your priorities. Yeah. Have you written them down? If you haven't, I have this on this worksheet. There's a little place for you to do a little homework. So, top 3 must-haves. These are the 3 things that you will not negotiate on, period. So get those out in the open. And if you and other people living in the home that are responsible for it don't agree on these, it's important to get a list of your combined must-haves. And also understand where there's some give and take, because that's going to happen. Okay, so your next category is your top 3, I can count, nice-to-haves. These are the things that you really like, but if they weren't there, you could probably be okay. So for instance, for us, we really wanted a 3-car garage so my husband could have a workshop out there. However, it was a nice to have because there were a lot of other things that were of higher priority to us. And that ended up being one of the things that we gave up in our current home. So understanding up front that was a nice to have for us rather than a must have helped us to make a decision on our home when we actually were buying it. And the last category I want you to think about is the top 3, no way, no how, things you will not accept, period. So for us, I would not have a home that backed to a busy street because it's too much noise. And I would not have a home that was close to the big power lines because I don't want to be near them. So there were some things like that we brought into the equation very early. So know those up front. And if you're working with a realtor, share those things with your realtor or your real estate professional. It's really important that they understand your parameters so they can help you find what's going to work for you best. We had a list that we used, and it was kind of funny because our realtor did not really understand how we came up with this list. So that's part of our experience that I do want to share with you. So we'll come back to that. So now that you've got your must-haves, your nice-to-haves, and your no ways done and agreed upon, now you can start looking for things in homes that match what you want and that are going to meet your health, safety, and comfort requirements. So number one thing I tell people to look at is look at the place, because where your home is does really affect your lifestyle. Remember that community and neighborhood can be different. So kind of understand which one is most important to you. You may live in a neighborhood, but it may not have a sense of community. We were fortunate enough to get in a neighborhood that also has a great sense of community. So they're out there. Also know, do you want a walkable community? Are you okay being out in the suburbs where everything needs a car to get around to things? Or would you rather be in an urban environment where you don't perhaps need a car at all because there's great public transit? We've got so many options now with Uber and Lyft and all the ride sharing. And you can even here we can get the scooters downtown and ride around. So there's a lot more options now than there were even a few years ago. So understand what you want as far as where that place is. And I know with so many of us working from home more now, that's opened up a lot more possibilities for place for many of us. So second, when you're in the home, see if it's got enough insulation and that it's going to perform. And if you don't know if you're going to be able to figure this out, there's great energy assessments that are out there in almost every community, at least major communities across the United States. You can look online, energy assessment. A lot of times the utilities will offer these. And if at all possible, have that energy assessment done before you agree to buy the home. This way you will know what you're getting in for. You can also ask for utility bills. I even called our utilities and got some idea of the utilities on some of the homes we were looking at. But knowing upfront what we were looking at from a utility standpoint really helped us to make a determination and understand if we were going to need to add more insulation to a home or if it was already pretty well insulated, because I really am big on the comfort thing. That was really, really important to me. And when you're looking at utilities, don't just think about the fuel that you'll use to heat and cool the house. Also remember you've got trash and sewage and water. And water can be a really, really big one depending what part of the country you're living in. So take it into consideration up front. So also check for ventilation. You want to make sure that there's operable bath fans that actually go exhaust to the outdoors. Your home inspector may be able to help you figure that out. And if at all possible, a kitchen range hood that also vents to the outdoors. This keeps a lot of the moisture and the pollutants that come from us cooking and taking showers and everything, and it vents it, exhausts it to the outside. So that helps to keep our indoor air much, much healthier. Even better if there's some sort of fresh air intake in the home. Not very popular in homes yet, pretty easy to add later. But we'll get into that in a separate conversation about ventilation because that one can get deep real quick. So the next thing you want to look for when you're looking at homes is wet spots. And if there's wet spots in the wrong places, then make sure to get them inspected and know what you're getting yourself into. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but you want to know what you're getting yourself into. We went into one home that the inspector found a fair number of leaks, and it was okay, we know what there is. So now we can mix, put that into the mix and make a decision based upon that. If you're planning on replacing some of the plumbing, that may not matter at all. It may just be, okay, we know that we're going to have to upgrade some things and repair a few things when we're replacing things, especially if you're moving into a home that has older decorations and you're going to be doing a lot of cosmetic upgrading your faucets. And that's a great time that you can also tighten up the plumbing system as well. So you do want to make sure there's no wet spots in the walls or anything like that, because that can be mold and mildew, and that is not our friend. So if you smell a musty smell, you might want to check around and make sure that there is no mold or mildew. Again, a home inspector can help you with some of this. Talk to your realtor and your home inspector about any suspicious smells or anything that you have, so they can be sure to check them out.
You probably don't have the time, resources, or know-how to research and shop for better options for you and your world. That's why I've done it for you. The Everyday Green Home Shop is my curated collection of better products for a safer, healthier, more comfortable life in your home. Through simple buying choices, you can change your home easily. My book laid out the how to do it. Now, the Everyday Green Home Shop gives you a place to put those ideas into action with your buying choices. I invite you to look through the online shop and choose an item or two to swap for something you usually buy for your home. Once you make a selection, it will take you to one of my trusted affiliate sites or the Amazon site you already use. Super easy. Products on Everyday Green Home range from indoor-outdoor rugs made from recycled plastic to my husband's favorite reusable silicone straw that fits in his pocket. I look for third-party independent green labels or go through a trusted third-party verification process to validate the products I curate for you. Go to everydaygreenhome.com for what you need to create a stylish, safer, and healthier home easily.
Next, I look for durable finishes and materials. And we don't have kids at home anymore, but I still think this is super important. We do have a pet. So having things that are really durable and easy to clean and easy to maintain just makes living in a home so much easier to clean and keep clean, which is healthier for all of us if we're not breathing in all the dust and everything that comes into our homes with all that dust. So having it like hard surface flooring, super. I do not have hard surface flooring throughout all of my home, just in the living areas. And next home, you can see my carpet back there, right? I will do my darndest to have a home that doesn't have wall-to-wall carpet in it. I'd much rather have area rugs, easier to keep clean, easier to clean the area rugs. But I know a lot of homes that you're going to be in are going to have carpet in the living or in the sleeping areas. So as much hard flooring as you can will be easier to keep clean. And there's a lot of options out there right now. Scrubbable paint. This was a big one for me, especially when my kids were growing up. And I had one that liked to color on the walls once in a while. So making sure it was something that would tolerate me getting in there and scrubbing it was great. And better yet, if a home is being repainted, use low or no VOC paints. There's so many options out there. You're going to get rid of so many of the pollutants that come into the home through the paint just by painting with a better, preferably no VOC paint. And there's all kinds of options. Every major supplier out there has a line of paint now that meets these great requirements of low and no VOCs. And then you might want to look at the different kinds of countertop materials that are in your bathrooms, in your kitchen. And again, make sure they're durable and they're going to meet your lifestyle. So for instance, some stone might be more fragile than something like a quartz or a laminate. There are even some eco-friendly laminate products out there. So ask a few questions. There's all kinds of options. Matter of fact, a whole bunch more than there was even 10 years ago. You might even be able to, if you're replacing stuff, pick one out that's going to be super durable for you and your family and whoever's living in that house. So number 5 on the list is operating cost. And we talked about this a little bit earlier when you are perhaps gathering up what the bills, the utilities are for the home to operate it. This is, again, what comes into your operating costs. I think we all kind of forget, when we buy a home, we think, okay, we got to pay the mortgage, we got to pay the insurance, we got to pay the tax, and we got to pay in the mortgage, we got to pay the principal, and we got to pay the interest. So we're really focused on those numbers. And we oftentimes forget to look at how much it's going to cost to run the home. And that's where it can really bite us. If you don't know what you're getting yourself into, you could be moving into a home that has a super high utility cost or a super high water cost. And if you didn't know, that could even double the cost of living in that home on a monthly basis. So again, know what you're getting yourself into. A lot of more high-performing homes, energy-efficient homes will help you keep those operating costs down more, but look at your trade-offs. And first-time cost is important, but it is also good to look at how it's going to play out over the years, because having a super low first cost and super high monthly costs might not work in your budget. Again, know what you're getting yourself into. So this maintenance cost comes into play even more because this does not get figured into our operating costs and our monthly costs in most of our budgets when we're budgeting to buy a new home or buy a home that's new to us. This one can be a showstopper because maintenance, especially for an older home, can take a significant part of your monthly budget, and you have to just budget in for it up front. So you figure 1 to 3% of purchase price for your annual maintenance and to set it aside, because eventually you're going to have to do things like replace hot water heaters and furnaces and things as they age out. So if you move into a home that has older, for instance, older hot water heaters, you may want to budget in replacing those sooner than later. So if the systems are old or older, you're going to want to budget more. If the home is older, you're going to want to budget on the top end of that 1% to 3%. If it's a newer home, like we bought a new home, so we could budget more on the 1% side. Be aware of this. Know how long things last. So for instance, hot water heaters, tank hot water heaters typically last for about 10 years. We had a family member recently moved into a new home, new to them. It had been around for a few decades, and home inspector told them the age of the water heater, but didn't see anything else, and that water heater failed, and it was not fun. So it's knowing these things up front. Okay, we have a water heater older than 10 years. We need to budget to replace it. Enough said. And the last thing I want you to take into consideration is what I call the hassle factor. And, this is to me kind of where it all comes down is I want things that are easy to take care of. And I'm talking to more and more people on all ends of different ages and different lifestyles that we want easy. We just don't want to be spending all of our time taking care of our homes, at least most of us. Some of us. Okay. I like you guys that like to get in there and take care of stuff, but it's not me. And it's not a lot of us. So you want to make sure that it's easy as possible in that home to take care of things that you have to replace and like your filters. Are they easy to access? Can you get to them easily? So you can change them regularly because that's really important to our indoor air quality. Do you know how to control and or more importantly, program the thermostat? I think this is the number one thing I hear from people when they move in new homes. How do I program the thermostat? So that's really important. Knowing how to change the temperature on the hot water heater, how to operate the fans and the lighting fixtures, all of that hopefully is things that you will get some training on by the realtor or the builder, depending on what you're getting. If not, there's some great tools online, and I'm more than happy to steer you to them, but there's some really great tools that will help you get through figuring out how to do all this stuff, especially if it's hard to hear everything when you're going through a first time home walkthrough and getting all of the specifics and you've got an hour. And then all of a sudden you're like, I got to know what to do in my house. So that is the last of that. Get this worksheet. Like I said, it's in the show notes. For those of you guys listening online, you should be able to access the show notes when you're not moving. And this can give you a guide to go through. So I was telling you that we had a very interesting experience when we bought this home that we're living in now. So this home was a spec home. So that means that the builder thought they built the home with no specific buyer in mind. And it did sit for a few months. And then we came along. We wanted a home that was ready to move into. So we really didn't have time to build according to our specifics, desires, and so this was one of the homes that we looked at and really liked, in addition to a home that was about 12 years old. And so I was moving from Oklahoma, and my husband already lived here. No, I'm in Oklahoma. I was moving from St. Louis, and my husband was already here. And we did not have a very long time to find a home because he was going through some major medical treatment. And I was coming back and forth to help him. So I did some research online, and I came up with a list of about a dozen or 14 homes that I gave to our realtor. I said, we want to see these homes. And we did it all in an afternoon. I think we're cuckoo. But we had a checklist of what we were looking for in that home. And we had agreed on what those things were up front. So we would drive up to the homes and we would walk around the outside. And we had 3 things that we were looking for. And so we get to the first home when we walk around outside and we're like, okay, we'll go inside and we look at that. All fine, normal. We go to the second home, we walk around the outside and we said, okay, let's go. And our realtor looked at us and she goes, well, you don't want to see the inside? And we said, nope. She goes, I don't understand. Why? Well, what we had on that list when we walked around outside was we looked at the outside air conditioning unit and looked for any rust. And if it was very old, or if it had, the rust was basically a water issue. We looked at the trim around the windows and looked for any softwood or places that we could see water damage. We have a lot of homes here in Oklahoma City that do not have gutter systems. So sometimes things can get a little wet, even though we don't have a huge amount of rain. And then we looked at the backyard because we wanted to be able to enjoy our backyard in the evenings, which meant it could not be west facing in the backyard. So those are our three things. And if we got to a home and it didn't meet those three things, we were done. We just didn't even go inside. So we walked away from that meeting that afternoon with a short list of really just 2 homes and ended up buying one of them. Actually put a contract in the other one first, and it had some challenges with it that we just couldn't figure out how to get through right then, since my husband was going through medical treatment. So the new house we felt like would be a better option since it did not have the age-related problems that this other home had. But I will tell you, so Scott wanted a big yard. He really wanted a yard. That was really important to him. And when we bought our home in 2016, we thought we were through with all his medical issues. So he's excited. He's going to have this yard to take care of. Well, little did we know that the medical issues were not done. And now a big yard's a lot. So anyway, we've figured that one out. But things change and you adapt, and that's okay. You just got to do what you got to do. So I wanted to wrap this up with a reference to a book that I found on my bookshelf when I was rearranging things today. And I thought it was really kind of appropriate for this conversation. It's called Green Building for Dummies. And this is a 2008 book. So this stuff's been around for quite a while, y'all. Eric Corey Fried wrote this, and he was one of the people I started following when I first got into this back in, 06 or 05. And I learned a lot from him. But what was great about this book is that it just really went through the basics. And it's a great compliment to my book, by the way, too. So get both of them. But there are some things that are a little dated in here. But I had to laugh. So we had a chapter, 10 green things you can do in your home right now. And most of them are things that I've been talking about for a long time. Things that are on my green home checklist, which if you're in my Facebook group, you will get a copy of. Things that we've talked about in so many of these podcasts. And some of them are, a little bit more natural than some people are going to be comfortable with, but so many of them are just common sense. And it's taking that common sense to the next level that really helps us to have that healthier home for our happiness. Because you know what? Finding a home that's going to make you and the people that live there healthy and happy is how you're going to have a great experience in your home. So, hey, y'all, I appreciate you joining me today. It's been lots of fun. And those of you that are watching on the video, you see my last bottle shirt. So this will be my brag as I'm signing off. This shirt is made all of recycled water bottles. And I love wearing it because it's super cool. And this is a startup I got to support. So there's all kinds of ways to support this stuff, y'all. You just got to get a little creative. So thanks for tuning in. Again, I hope to see you in the Facebook group too. We've got some great conversations going there. And have a great, happy, healthy day. That wraps this episode of the Everyday Green Home Podcast. Get the show notes with all the resources mentioned in this episode. And be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Ready to get started? Get more information, how-tos, and resources in my private Facebook group, Love Your Everyday Green Home. See you there. And remember that living a little better and a little greener is easier than you think.